In the sophomore advisories last 2 weeks, we're covering this website called SAM, which stands for Smart About Money. It gives some resources up here, gives us some courses that you can go through. If you look at the variety of courses, we can share or communicate with our students about earning money, setting up an emergency plan, financial well-being, a housing plan, life events and transition plan, retirement, transportation. Now, what we're doing with the sophomores is just really guiding them through the money basics, and I'll show that here in a little bit. Before I go on to the next area, I just want to show you the tools it has some basic guidelines, how to set up a budget, utilize different calculators to be able to plan out and see the money you want to actually use. We've already used one of these. We've actually went into the life values quiz and had all the sophomores take the life values quiz to really look at what their values in life and how their spending is based off the values that we actually have in our lives. And it gives different topics, 4 different areas that we did pursue with that. Give you some other topics to look at here. The one thing I do want to point out, it does have sections where you can actually use, and students are more needed to understand this better in their own Spanish language. They can do that here as well. So let's go ahead and go into money basics. If we look at the 5 different areas that we actually have touched on through the life skills planning, we have spending and saving, we have credit and debt, insurance, investing, and employment. And so what we've asked the advisories to do is to select one of these that they're going to go through with their students to do 2 things. One is to look at one lesson we can give them to actually start thinking about how to plan and use and think about financial literacy. And then number 2, it gives them a way to come back and actually look and utilize the rest of them, and hopefully that they will keep this as a resource in the future. How this actually is set up, a couple of them actually has an individual. If we go into spending and saving, you see that they actually take a person and give a little bit of a background. They actually, here's the situation that Barbara would need to do to spend for a certain vacation or an area that she wants to actually pursue. And so each one of these have 6 different sections. They all start off with an introduction, tell you a little bit about what you need to prepare yourself for the course, the steps to get started, how this actual area for spending and saving works, things you should need to know, gives you some details of things to know when you're planning and saving. And then they're actually setting up a SAM plan. So they're looking at 3 different areas that they can do to help set up and eventually use the money that you've saved. And then lastly, a conclusion of the course. Now, this is self-guided. What I would want each advisor to do is just start on why take this course. It'll give an overview, give you 3 bullet points to touch on. It tells them about a disclaimer, just communicating that each situation is different, but also there's other resources they can pursue if they're looking for more questions. Each one's going to have you go next. And it's going to take you into the next slide, tell you a little bit about the situation with Barbara. Gives her details, gives you some information to look at, how to plan, how much money she's going to need to save, and so forth. We'll go on to the next slide, next section. And in this section, what we're looking to do is getting started. So it's going to give you a situation where Barbara's at, what she needs to do, spending, and so forth. We go on to the next slide. And I won't open these up, but it gives her 3 different ways you can pursue this. It also gives them a little bit of a example using the SMART method to save that $20, how much they're going to need to save. It will give you or let you be able to go into the worksheet to be able to set up goals or track your goals. So it's going to be resources you want right now. So as a sophomore advisor, they may want to go into the SMART Goals worksheet, show the students what it looks like. Now, I apologize if I'm going through this pretty quickly. I just want to try to cover this information. Hopefully this information is pretty self-explanatory as you go into each one of the lessons, and that's what you want to communicate with students as well. Again, they're taking where did the $20 go? So we're looking at the information getting started. Again, you see another worksheet that they embedded into this slide. Okay, so we go into the next section. Be spending a detective, and goes in a little bit more what the payments are going to be for a house, needs for a car, groceries, coffee, and other particular needs versus wants. Gives a little bit of a detail of the income for Barbara. So it's a good resource and show students be able to earn money that I think is in relative realms where they're going to be here in a very short period of time. Again, they use a very creative way to analyze evidence and information. Gives you some options of how to trim some of your wants to make sure that you're obtaining your needs. Okay. So Barbara's plan. So it goes into a specific plan, shows them some monies that she's going to need to receive and how to pay them off. Now, what I'm going to do, it goes into section 3, and I'm just going to go through each one of these. And you'll be able to see if you have your own computer. I should have said this at the beginning. You can actually be guiding through this yourself as well, and you can maybe go through some of the details that we actually do have here. But you can see some of the information it goes into, and I think it's very relevant when they look at it. It also goes on, starts looking at them, some of the things they're going to need to understand when they're saving. Some of the monies that they are not necessarily fun to have, paying the water bill, paying the rent, and things like that. What's behind the spending decision? So what decision you make? So here's where they can touch on the life skill values. So they took the value skills that communicating here again of how the inner value skill, the social and the physical and financial, plays into your decision making. Shows ways how you can increase your income. If you are in a situation where you're spending each month and saving is becoming harder and harder to do, how you can increase that income. Some things you want to do. It gives you some results. You know, I tell my own children to pay yourself first. You know, I can easily say that, and I know what it means, but students sometimes don't understand what that really means. But it should, and this be an opportunity for you to be able to communicate to students why it is important to do that as well. So using the apps, using your phone, how to track your spending, how to make sure you're keeping within budget. And going on to a little more in lesson 4, getting help. You're not alone. There are other programs, other places that you can actually get assistance if you get yourself in a situation. And again, it gives a resource here and looks at programs that they can link to. Okay, so really look at all the different avenues that you need to actually have. Keep it in a safe place, secure, where you can find that information when you do need it in emergencies. And what type of information you need to actually keep that's above and beyond the money. So again, it opens up different ways you can look at how long you should keep these particular records, give you some good detailed information you can share with them. And the payment methods. So if you get in a situation how to pay off different debts using credit cards, using a checking account, and be able to pay. So it gives them a list of things they need to consider in the future, making sure that that information that they're using is a secure way with your money. And here it goes into the plan using the SAM method. Size up your situation, analyze it, and then make a plan. Okay. And then giving more guided information of having them evaluate. and then analyze it. And lastly, we're just looking at making the spending plan. Challenge yourself. Make sure that's realistic, specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound. Again, there's another SMART Goals worksheet, the reference. And where you can get help again, and some other resources. And that is it. Again, they give them some other guidelines and so forth, and gives them the other 4 areas that you can possibly pursue. So what I want to do right now, just to conclude, let's look at the other 4 areas and just look at the content. Again, the same 6 sections. Very similar with their employment, their insurance, their investing. Okay, so that's what I want to conclude. I just want to take 10, 12 minutes to show you this website and share with your students. We'll look at this in the past. Hopefully the senior advisories that you have now, you'll be sharing this with your sophomores next year. Sophomores advisories be looking at now, and 2 years down the road, the junior advisor would be able to show this to their sophomores when we're coming through. And you can always reference back to this information. If any students in your advisory actually has questions about these topics and areas about money.